we're going to work on problem 1. It says, Alyssa, Bob, Chris, and Debbie are trading marbles. First, Alyssa gives Bob 3/5 of her marbles. Then Bob gives Chris 3/5 of his marbles. Then Chris gives Debbie 2/5 of his marbles. Finally, Debbie gives Alyssa 2 marbles. Everyone ends up with 12 marbles. How many marbles did each person start with? Okay, color coded it so it's more clear, so we can work on the different parts of the question, and we're going to be working backwards. So at the end it says, if everyone ends up with 12 marbles, everyone ends up with 12 marbles. So we're giving everyone 12 marbles because we're working backwards. And I'm also going to do it in the right color. Okay, next it says, Debbie gives Alyssa 2 of her marbles. Okay, so because we're working backwards, we're going to give those 2 marbles back to Debbie. So we're going to take 2 away from Alyssa. So that's 12. Take away 2, and that equals 10. There's a little bit too much of a space here. I'm just going to make the font smaller here. Perfect. Now that we took those 2 away from Alyssa, now we're going to give them back to Debbie. She ends up with 12. It's 12 plus 2. That's 14. Bob wasn't in this part of the question, so he still has 12. And Chris also wasn't in this part of the question, so he also still has 12. And now I'm just going to color code it. Now on the yellowish orange part of the question, it says Chris gives Debbie 2/5 of his marbles. So Chris has his 12 marbles here. And if he gave 2/5 to Debbie, this must be 3/5. We don't know what 1/5 represents. So we're going to draw a picture to make it easier. Here's a circle. Now I'm going to try to divide it into 5 parts as evenly as possible. It's supposed to be equal, but it might not turn out that way. Sort of equal. But we get the point. Now he gave 2/5 to Debbie. Wow, this highlighter is going crazy. Okay. So these are the 2/5 he gave to Debbie, and he has 12 marbles left and 3/5 left. So that means we divide 12 by 3 because there's 3 pieces left and 12 marbles. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So we now know that each marble represents 4. This is way too big. It's not perfect, but that's okay. So that means these 2 also represent 4. And 4. So here's all the fifths. He has 12. He gave 8 to Debbie because he gave 2/5 and each of them represent 4. So we're going to give those back to Chris. So if we do, I'm still on that. Always happens to me. So it's 12 plus 8, because that's what he gave to Debbie. 12 plus 8, that equals. Might have to change the font later. Yeah, we probably do. 8 equals 20. I hope this works for all the columns. Yeah, I'm just going to do it for every single one of them. That'll make it more convenient later. Okay, so here it says that 12 plus 8 is 20. Now we have to, Debbie has 14 right now. We have to take away that 8 from her 14. 14, take away 8 equals 6. That's not the right symbol. There you go. Equals 6. Bob wasn't in this part of the question, so we're going to keep him at 12. I just color coded it, so now the font will hopefully be yellow. Bob wasn't involved in this part of the question, only Chris and Debbie, so he's still going to have 12. Let's just put a space there to be consistent. There. And Alicia, I don't know how to say that. That said, has 10 marbles. So we're going to give her 10. She wasn't involved in this, but we have to give her what she had before in this part of the question. Okay. I'm going to go to the annotate key and clear everything, because now we have to do it for Bob, because it says Bob gives Chris 3/5 of his marbles. Well, we need to know what 3/5 of his marbles looks like. Those always annoy me. That's a circle. Trying my best to get this even and equal. It's supposed to be, even though it may not look like it. That's good, I guess. Okay, it says Bob gives Chris 3/5 of his marbles. This is not inside the lines, but hopefully you could all see that that's 3/5. There we go. Okay, so that's 3/5. He gave those to Chris. And here, he has 2/5 left. He also has 12 marbles left. So that means those 12 marbles has to be those 2/5 added together. So we're going to divide 12 by 2, and that gives us 6, because there's 2 pieces left and 12 marbles. So now we can see, we just change the font size of this to something better, hopefully. It's not that tiny, not that big. 6. Because for this one, I made my pieces a bit too small. So if those two represent 6, then that means all of them have to represent 6, even the ones you gave to Debbie. Or Chris, sorry, not Debbie, Chris. All right. So here are all of his 5ths. He gave 3 of them to Debbie, and 3 times 6 is 18. We're going to give that 18 back to Bob. Back to Bob, yes, from Chris. Look. All right. So that's 12 plus 18, because that's what he gave to Chris, but we need to give it back to him because we're working backwards. 12 plus 18 equals 30. And again, our font is too big. I really don't want to have it this way, so I'm going to change it. Okay, 20 looks fine. There you go. That's going to be the way for every single piece of that now. And Chris, we're going to have to take away 18 from his because we're giving it back to Bob. 18, not 17. 20 minus 18 equals 2. There's only 2. I'm going to clear all my drawings. Okay, on the next part of the question, wait, I forgot. We need to keep it. Debbie has 6 because that's what she had before, and she wasn't in this part of the question. So we're gonna, I always do that. Always just skip to the next problem. So give her 6. And Alyssa had 10 before, and she wasn't in this part of the question. She had no role in this, so we're going to give her 10 because that's what she had before. Now it's time to color code. And that just helps me remember which part of the question we're doing. There we go. Next, we're doing the red part of the question. That is first, Alyssa gives Bob 3/5 of her marbles. We really don't need the first because we're working backwards. The most important part is Alyssa gives Bob 3/5 of her marbles. So we're going to draw out what 3/5 looks like. I'm also going to change it to red. And I just clear out all of my drawings because I don't like having distractions while I'm doing my work. Okay, so she accidentally clicked the wrong thing. It says she gives Bob 3/5 of it, so we're gonna color in 3 parts of it. Trying my best to make it equal. By the way, the circle divided into 5 parts it's supposed to be equal, even though it doesn't really look like it much. One of the pieces is bigger. Okay, so she had 2/5 left because she gave 3 of them to Bob, and she has 10 marbles left. So that means both of those fifths are equal to 10. So we divide 10 by 2 because there's 2 of them. And that gives us 5. So that means each of the pieces are 5. Each one represents 5. Okay, so that means this part here, the part she gave to Bob, that also has to be 5. There we go. So we've got our circle drawn out. This is what she has. This is what she gave to Bob. We're working backwards, so we're going to give it back to Alyssa. So 3 times 5 is 15. That means 10 plus 15, and that equals 25. Now Bob, we're taking it back from Bob, so it's 30 minus 15. 30 minus 15, and that equals 15. Now I'm going to clear the drawing, and increasing Debbie. Chris didn't do anything in this part of the question. He had no role in it, so we're going to give him 2 because that's what he had before. And Debbie also didn't do anything in this part of the question. She had no representation in this part, so we're going to give her 6 because that's what she had before. And as usual, I'm going to color code it red. There we go. So we did that part of the question, but now we have to check our answer. All right, so if Alyssa gives Bob 3/5 of her marbles, then that means 15 because each one represents 5 in the picture we drew. So 25 minus 15 15, and that equals here. Oh, it equals 10. So that means Alyssa now has 10. We're going to give 15 to Bob because that's what we took away from Alyssa. That's her 3/5. So he has 15, and now we add 15. And that equals 30. All right. And we did that. This has 2 still because he wasn't in this part of the question, and so was Debbie. She had no part in this question. She wasn't involved in this part of the question. Okay, next on to this one. It says, then Bob gives Chris 3/5 of his marbles. Okay. Alyssa has 10 because that's what we had before, and she's not in this part of this question. I'm just going to work from left to right here. Okay, so he has 30 right now. And if we were to divide that by 5, each part would represent 6. So we have 30, and 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, 30 minus 18. And that equals, see here, I believe it was 12. Yes, it was 12. And Chris we're gonna give Chris 18 because that's what we took away from Bob to give to him. That's what the question said to do anyways. That's 20. Debbie had no part in this question, so she still has 6 here. And yeah, we're done with this row. Yeah, I'll color code it now. No, why don't I save that for the end? That won't help. No, that's okay. I don't think we need to color code it anyways. It says Chris gives Debbie 2/5 of his marbles. All right, Alyssa still has 10. She's not in the part of this. I'm left to right here. Bob has 12. He wasn't in this part of the question either, but Chris was. So if we divide Chris's 20 by 5, that equals 4. So that means there are 4 parts. There are 5 parts, and each one represents 4 in the picture we drew earlier. Okay, so that means we give Debbie 2 of those 4s. 2 times 4 is 8. So 20 minus 8, and that equals 12. Now Chris has 12, and we're going to give that 8 to Debbie. So it's 6 plus 8. Sorry, my cursor's in the way. 6 plus 8, and that equals 14. Equals 14, not just 14. Equals 14. And I believe we're done with this part of the question. It says, finally, Debbie gives Alyssa 2 marbles. Okay, so Debbie's going to give Alyssa 2 marbles. 10 plus 12. 10, not 10 plus 12. It's 10 plus 2. That equals 12. It equals 12. It's not plus 12. Bob had no part in this question, and he has 12. Chris also didn't have a part in this question, and he had 12 before. Now Debbie, it's 14 minus 12, minus 2. Why do I keep doing that? Because she gave that to Alyssa. So 14 minus 2 is 12. There we go. And it says if everyone ends up with 12 marbles, how many marbles did each person start with? We have our answers here, and let's just check it. Alyssa has 12. We don't really need to highlight it. Bob has 12. Chris has 12, and Debbie has 12, so that's how we know our answer is right. And the answer is for Alyssa 25, for Bob 15, for Chris 2, and for Debbie 6.